Hi, I'm Dr. Sandy Martin from All Star Family Chiropractic, and today we're talking about breastfeeding. Yes, it's a very important healthy part and sets us up for nutrition and for thriving for life too. So I have a guest speaker with me here today named Adele, who has a whole history. And tell me, why would I pick you to talk about this?
I successfully breastfed 4 children, and they in turn have breastfed their children. And my son even encouraged his wife to breastfeed who had no prior family that did.
But you were also a Leche coach.
Yes, I was a Leche Leader for 25 years. I held meetings, I had toddler meetings, I had couples meetings, and just kept giving information to other people so that they could enjoy the experience.
That's awesome. So you brought a picture of your kids that are all grown adults now. Like, how old's the oldest? Yeah, hold on, we'll bring this closer.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are all in their 40s now.
Wow. And then they breastfed. So
Yes.
It's now a legacy passed on.
Yes, it is. Because once you have the knowledge, there's not a lot of knowledge, but once you have the knowledge, you can be successful.
Why do you think that is? Like, what we live in a society today that we sexualize the woman's body, that these become toys and not necessarily food, and a lot of people aren't comfortable even breastfeeding out in the open too. So why do you think that information isn't out there today?
That is partly because of that. I mean, you can see someone on the cover of a magazine and they're slit down to here and showing everything, but would a woman dare to bare her breast to feed her baby? But it's getting better that way, and I think you just have to be confident in yourself. There are ways that you can just throw a blanket over you, and it's very easy to do, and you need the confidence that I can do this, and it is my right to feed my baby the way that I have chosen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're covering any of our faces when we eat at home, right? When we are adults, right? So why are we choosing babies and the most natural thing to do and being out in the open? So it's creating a whole community around this. So
our society is also very mobile. So it's kind of like, oh, let's get away from the kids. Whereas you can take your child with you everywhere. And it's even more easier if you are breastfeeding. You can take them camping. I went on a houseboat trip when my son was 6 weeks old, and I didn't have to bring anything except me.
Right? It is easier. So for convenience. So why else would a mother or even a partner choose to breastfeed or use breast milk?
It's good for you. In the first 6 months, if you breastfeed for 6 months, you can save enough to buy a major appliance.
Whoa.
And also, it's good for the baby because your breast milk is tailored to your child. That is just specifically for your child. The first few days they get the colostrum, which is immunity, gives them immunities. Everything that you're immune to, they'll be immune to. So it's better for baby, it's better for you. Also, in the first 6 months, you should lose all your pregnancy weight. That was one thing I loved about breastfeeding. I could eat whatever I wanted, and it would just fall off.
It is high in burning calories when you are breastfeeding. Yes. There was another thought in there. Go ahead. Did you have a thought too?
Bonding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to bond with your baby. They're hearing your heartbeat the same as they did inside of you, and you have
Oxytocin.
Yes.
Yeah. The love drug, the love hormone, like that rush of love after a baby's born that a lot of people experience.
And when you sit down to nurse them, you just have these overwhelming feelings, and there are problems that come up sometimes, but they are easily overcome.
What are some of the problems that might come up?
For me personally, with my first child, I had cracked and bleeding nipples, and my doctor thought maybe I'd have to quit, and thankfully I called the Leche League, which just had a wealth of information. I got their book, The Womanly Art of Breastfeeding.
So, and she did mention this was an older version of it, so you'll find newer and different covers of it as well. But this is by the Leche League International, actually, yeah.
And it's everything you wanted to know about breastfeeding. It is worth its weight in gold. It has a chapter on fathers. It has a chapter on working and nursing. There's just so much information in here. I read it cover to cover and I discovered what I was doing wrong. I was covering my breasts up instead of letting them air dry, and they healed, and I went on to feed my baby.
Oh, wait, pause. That was big that you just said. So what causes cracked and bleeding nipples?
If you're just like, I was nursing and then covering them up immediately and they needed to air dry.
Oh.
And that helped a lot.
Interesting.
And then switch the baby to the side, maybe start them on the side that isn't quite as sore, and then you can switch them to the other side that is less so.
Any other things that you can think of where mothers and babies might struggle to breastfeed?
If you have something called inverted nipples, that is something that a lot of mothers, not a lot, but a fair amount of mothers have, and there's ways that you can bring that nipple out. And you might need the help of a lactation consultant to do that. There's certain things that you can do. I would encourage you to just get as much information as you can before time, so you know, see about your breasts. Another thing is do not use soap on your nipples. I have never done that since then, and they stayed really nice.
Wow, this is awesome. So even as a chiropractor, I think of we see moms and babies struggle with lactation or latching together. And a lot of times baby might have a tongue tie. And there's 5 different tongue ties that can happen. In fact, my firstborn daughter went through all 5 tongue ties. The guy who we went to the specialist to have them cut actually said it was one of the worst ties that he's ever seen. And so I learned different things about releasing tongue ties too. So this isn't a conversation about that. However, those are things that can create problems with latching. And a lot of times even just sucking, the sucking thing comes from the jaws. If the jaw is too tight, the muscles are also correlated with the back of the skull. And then when baby's head is coming through the opening, the vagina, everything's kind of hitting, and the contractions hit and they are squeezed together, and the muscles and the bones can get stuck too, which then create the jaws or the muscles around the jaw to tighten, and then the sucking not to happen right as well. So chiropractic care can help adjusting babies and getting them to suckle properly, which then makes it easier for mom and baby. If I have a baby coming in for latching issues, I will always make sure mom is under care as well for chiropractic care, because the amount of stress and posture also plays a role in how our body works, whether it's hormone production or even milk production as well.
And I would like to say too that one of the things that just is kind of at the beginning, you're like, oh, is my baby getting enough? It's crying too much. What's happening? They should be sleeping for 3 hours. They should be sleeping for 2 hours or whatever. That's a thing that you can just forget. Throw the schedule out the window, especially with the first new baby. Let them nurse as often as they want to. The thing is, this is kind of the cardinal rule. The more the baby nurses, the more milk you will have. You can increase your milk supply within 24 hours by just switching them from one breast to the other.
Is that true for working moms too, who may want to pump? So if we pump more often?
I babysat for a mom, and she worked on Tuesdays and Thursdays. No, she worked Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on the days when I had the baby, in just a few weeks, her body produced less milk on those days. Your body knows. And so it's something. And the other thing is try to stay away from a pacifier.
So even before you move on, even on the days she worked, was she trying to pump?
She did pump some, yes.
Okay,
you have to pump to relieve
Yep.
yourself, yes. But the baby sucking is a stimulation that brings in more milk. And that's the same for a weight gain baby. I worked with a mom who had low weight gain, and the doctor's like, yeah, she needs to be on something else. And so we did the switch nursing. She did 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and within 24 hours, her milk supply came up.
Wow.
And she was able to continue. So there are so many things that you can do. And just don't be afraid to, I say, what every child needs is a bust in the mouth. And if they're sick, they're going to want to nurse more. That's okay. All those things are okay. And that's what really helped me when I got the book. I started reading and it was like, oh, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And so you just need the knowledge. And there are always going to be people who say, oh, dad's never going to be able to feed the baby. Well, dad can do all the other kinds of things. He can give the baby a bath. He can hold the baby when you're taking a shower. Many, many things. And he can hold the bottle anytime.
You were, before I interrupted you, you were going to go into something about pacifiers.
Yes, I would limit the use of pacifiers if you can, because that's less stimulation on you. There's a time when you can use them, but when you're home and you're nursing, just don't give it to the baby to soothe them, because that means then they get the sucking from the pacifier and not from you. So my children never had a pacifier. And also I want to say that size of breasts makes no difference. I am less than well endowed, had no problem feeding 4 children at all.
Milk comes through. Your body knows what your child needs.
Yes,
so
that's right.
One of the other questions I had about, you mentioned something about if your baby's getting too much or too little. What about babies who are spitting up a lot afterwards? Is that a sign of like too much?
Not necessarily. It could be, but generally babies will take in what they need. And some babies, my first child never spit up at all. My second child spit up all the time. So it might just be their internal things. Maybe you need to burp them a little bit more often. Maybe it's just every child is different. And so that's not necessarily alarming.
Yeah. Is there anything like herb-wise or product-wise for people to take that helps or is thought to help stimulate more milk production?
I think some moms drink tea that, I can't think of the name of the tea now though.
I don't know it either, but I've heard a couple different things, a couple different wives' tales.
Yes, that you do need to drink. Drink.
Oh, my midwife would say fluids out, fluids in. So if
Yes.
you're breastfeeding, you need to have a bottle for yourself for water.
Yes, a bottle for
You go
water.
pee, have water.
There are some things that are contraindicated through your milk. For my one child was very sensitive to caffeine. And so if I drank caffeine, it takes, I did some research on it, it takes 20 minutes for it to get to your milk. So if you really like coffee and you think it would affect the child, then you nurse them first, then go have your cup of coffee. So in a couple hours, that'll be dissipated.
Oh, wow. I didn't think it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's within.
So it is allowed.
Yeah.
What about alcohol if you're wanting to drink? Pump and dump?
No. It hardly
It'll
affects
dissipate too?
Yeah, it hardly affects your milk at all. There's never been any drunk babies. I mean, this means you can have a glass of wine.
Right. Don't go
Don't
crazy
drink to excess.
Because it can. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, you're going to feed baby first, then go have a drink. So it has
Right.
time to dissipate and go through the cycle and be filtered through blood again too.
During the time that I was a Leche Leader, I also I was a professional liaison for a while. So I got to know different drugs that were contraindicated through the milk. And so that's something between you and your doctor, but I found out that there were some drugs that could be substituted. So if you're having a problem, the doctor says you have to take this antibiotic, you can say, I'm nursing, what is the alternative? What is the one that I can take that's not going to be contraindicated?
Those are good ones. I have one more thought was, appropriate is not the right word, but is there a timeline that you see is very common when moms stop breastfeeding, or how long should we breastfeed for?
That is a very individual choice. Sometimes people decide that they're only going to breastfeed for so long because they're going back to work. So this brings up another thing. You can work and breastfeed. You can pump. Actually, it makes it a little bit easier if you have a good pump. And then when you come home, you get to hold baby again and you get to renew those bonds, and it just makes everything easier for you and the baby. How long you want to breastfeed in our society, most women do not breastfeed more than 6 months to a year. I was a long-term breastfeeder, so I breastfed my children longer than normal, and at times people would tell me that your children are never going to leave you because you're always nursing them. And my children now live in 4 different time zones. I think I won that one. They're all very independent. And I think because of me being there for them, that gave them the choice to be independent.
Well, your children being older too, was there any problems weaning them off?
They all wean themselves. it can be mother-led or baby-led, and I believe that's covered in this book too, baby-led or mother-led weaning. It's just that you want to think about, like, let's just say you really love coffee, and all at once somebody says, no, you're not going to have coffee anymore. Well, that's not fair. You're going to be pretty upset. So if you are going to wean the child, do it gradually, because they're like, that's my security, I love that. And so you have to take into consideration the needs of the child as well as your own.
Yeah.
It is possible to nurse for a long time.
Yeah. But that's also to say, like, I love how you said it's individually led, and it depends on mom, it depends on baby, because there's still great nutrition from it. It's cheaper. It's what our bodies are designed to do. What I was taught with the doctor realm is that we want breastfeeding babies who are on breast milk or breastfeeding for at least a full year.
Yes.
That's the goal, is to get at least to 12 months. I couldn't make it that long because I chose to work. And I even brought the baby to work with me, but the amount of people and time it just took, we ended up weaning because of my choices.
Right, but you did the best that you could at that time, and that's the thing. You do the best that you can with the situation that you have. And your baby gets immunities the whole time that you're breastfeeding, so those things keep up during that time. And
I don't know if this stat is true, but what we were told once, because I didn't do the study, but this is amazing, is because the rule I had before anyone met my baby was that you had to come hug me, because my body is going to make the antibodies for the baby while you hold it. And so if you had any type of virus or bug on you or bacteria, my body is going to start making those antibodies and then go through the milk right into the baby, and they're going to be able to fight it off, because that's how the baby's going to get the best immune system.
right. Yeah, that's
Through mom.
That's a good thing. And you can breastfeed a whole year without giving solids. My children did not have to have solids until they were a year old.
So, and
They're fine without
we're
that.
seeing this even in our practice now today too. I had a 4-month-old come in, and mom said, well, doctor said they can start eating rice. And I'm like, but should they? Because it's not normal. And what the purpose was for dexterity is what they said, just getting used to holding a spoon. And I'm like, they will pick that up when it's necessary. We don't need to push this on them at 3, 4, 5, even 6 months. Like, let the baby, if they seem interested, it will be okay for them to do some kind of mushy foods and then get into solids before 1 year, but it's not necessary.
Right. Your milk is all they need for the first year of their life.
Yeah.
And think of all the money you saved. My children never ever had baby food. Because by the time they're a year old, then they can start eating solid food off your plate. You can mash up a banana or a potato or whatever. So yes, there's no need for that.
Yes, yeah. This has been awesome. Anything else you would want to add?
Let me see. Where were my notes?
They fell. I got you.
All right. The colostrum, the bonding, losing weight, no schedule.
The colostrum is called the liquid gold, right?
Yes.
That happens for first, what,
Right.
3 days? Is that?
Yes, it's usually the first 3 days before your milk fully comes in. So,
So even if you choose not to breastfeed, you can extract that and even put it on your fingers or in your baby's mouth too. Use it in multiple different ways. It's liquid gold though. First 3 days, you should at least try to latch as much as possible.
yes, and I would say that's a thing. Just try, and if there's complications at first, you can get through it. It usually takes about 3 to 6 weeks for your milk supply to really be established. And then after that, it's just sometimes sooner than that. It's really easy. And I love the portability of taking my children anywhere. And so it's one of the greatest accomplishments of my life that I was able to nurture 4 children from my own body.
And then your daughter ended up having twins.
My daughter had twins, and she breastfed them for up to 2 years.
Both of them at the same time.
Yes.
Your body can make that much milk. It knows. It knows.
Yeah. It's just amazing, and the bonding is it's a wonderful thing to be able to bond with your baby that way. So. There's one other thing that I might want to say. Some people are just really worried sometimes about taking a baby in bed with them. That is, again, a very individual situation. With my third child, my daughter, she didn't sleep at all, maybe a half hour during the day. And so we pushed the bed against the wall. She slept here, I slept here, and my husband slept here. That gave me the chance to sleep. And believe me, they will move out sometime. I didn't go on the honeymoon with any of them.
Yeah, obviously you had one more after that, so it worked out okay.
Yes.
So this has been awesome. If you guys want more information, Adele comes in regularly and we talk with her. So you can ask questions at the end. We'll get back to them when we can. Thank you so much for your time and wanting more, and we wish all the best for you. And remember, you can look into the Leche clubs. There are breastfeeding clubs and groups, mom groups that also talk about this. So never feel alone.
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier before this actually. Why would someone want to look for that? What else do you get out of a group?
It's for moral support. It's for you sitting next to another mother and they're saying, oh, that happened to me. It just gives you a lot of camaraderie between and realize that, oh, there's other moms out there and they have just other problems that you can help each other with. Also, Leche League is online. So you can go to Leche League. You will find them. I found them today.
Right?
Or you can maybe LLL International, and you can go online and they have information online that you can look up also. So that can be another source. But it's really good to have other people. Find someone in your area.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us and wanting more. This is Dr. Sandy from All Star Family Chiropractic. Make sure to like us and subscribe to get more information. And you can ask questions of Adele and we'll get back to you when we can. Thanks. Have a great night.